All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of From the Field Farm Chat with Idaho Wheat. My name is Ryan Mortensen. I am the Communications and Programs Manager for the Idaho Wheat Commission. And today we are privileged to have Ken Morgan here with us. Ken is the grain merchandiser and seed manager for Arthur Companies located in eastern Idaho in the Blackfoot area. Just a reminder throughout this podcast, feel free to raise your hand or unmute your cameras or send a question in the chat if one comes up while we are chatting with Ken today, and I'll make sure to uh, relay those messages to Ken and see if we can get those answered for you. So Ken, I will go ahead and turn the time over to you if you want to kind of give us a little introduction about yourself and about Arthur, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate this opportunity to be able to talk to you guys, talk about Arthur Companies and what we're doing here. And we're really excited about, the mission that we have out here and the community. And it's been actually a great fit for the Arthur Companies. Little background on the Arthur Companies, primarily. So they started in Arthur, North Dakota in 1906 and as a family-owned elevator out there, and they continue to expand out in North Dakota. Shuttle loaders for corn and beans and some hard red spring, and here about 3 years ago they were looking to expand. Some of that's tied to the market conditions up there with the soybean crush plants coming into the area, and impacting their market up there. Wanted to diversify a little bit. And, the old Thresher General Mills facilities out here in eastern Idaho were up for sale at that time. And they came and acquired those assets almost 3 years ago. So 2021, December of 2021, they actually took ownership and started out here in eastern Idaho. And as far as me as an employee, it has been a great fit, a huge change from Thresher. One of the biggest things, we like as employees, and it seems to been, liked by our customers, is the Arthur Company is still family owned and family managed. Thresher was owned by venture capitalist, and General Mills before that is a publicly traded company. And both those types of investment companies, they're looking at things quarterly, wanted to show profit quarterly. And Arthur, we want to show profit, but they tend to have a longer term view on how things work and when they're going to work. And it's made working here and dealing with our customers a lot easier. They are very much customer oriented, both on the farm side and then our end use customers as well. Customer service is the top priority that we have in helping grow this business. We want everyone to view us on both sides of the chain that we deal with as partners in what we do. We talk about all the time, grain elevators, we believe play a very important role in the grain marketing sphere. We provide a lot of liquidity to the market. When prices are high, farmers want to sell. And when prices are low, that's when the end users want to buy. And we help provide that liquidity. Elevators buy high, sell low, and make money doing it. So, and that's kind of what our role is in helping out with this market. And then like on the farm side, we can help, with quality issues a lot better than the mills can. Mills are very strict on their quality specs, and the grain elevators, our job is to help with that, facilitate both our farmer customers and our end use customers, and providing those quality specs, and helping the farmer who may have off quality or not quite spec, being able to take that and make it into a product for our end use customers. And we feel that this venture out here in Idaho has gone really well. There's a couple of things that kind of point to that. So this last harvest that we just finished up, we had the largest harvest receipts basically for the last 10 years, and not just by a little bit. We probably surpassed our next highest year by 3 million bushels. So it's that the messaging and how we're working with our customers is proving in the fact that people trust us, our customers trust us to treat them well, work with them well, and be competitive out there in the marketplace for them. And that's showing. Um, the Arthur Companies is committed to improving, right? I mean, here just last year, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, we started, had a lease agreement with Soda Springs Elevator down there in the Soda Springs area. It's been very successful for us. And we're continuing to look at ways to either improve our current facilities through capital improvements or continue to expand so that we can service everybody better. Our seed sales every year can continue to improve. Um, and, and our offerings that we have continue to grow. We work with uh, plant breeders or companies, like Westbred, Syngenta, Lima Grain, and, the university. And an exciting thing here about a year ago, we started, we hired our own plant breeder. Maury Rugg. He is based out of our North Dakota, but he's also been down here doing test plots and looking at ways that we can, do our own plant breeding here in Eastern Idaho, which is kind of unique. Not a lot of people actually, other than probably the university, focus directly just on Eastern Idaho. A lot of these other bigger companies, they breed varieties that work elsewhere and then they test them here in Eastern Idaho to see if they work in Eastern Idaho. So having Maury out here and going to be responding to what we think will work or what works for our farm customers and our end use customers um, is huge, because we're going to have someone who is focusing on our specific region and climate and soil types, all of that, and getting out the best product that we can. A little bit background on Maury is, so he's been in the plant breeding industry for 20 years. He's got his master's from NDSU. Started off his career at Syngenta. He worked there for about 10 years. Then he went to Bayer, and then when Bayer bought out, joined with BASF. BASF had to get rid of their wheat breeding program, and that's when we were able to hire Maury. And here this last few months, he was actually able to acquire his own germplasm. So we've kind of got a head start on the plant breeding program that we've got, because he's been able to do that. Other couple things that we do, we have a pretty sizable corn program and also a good malt barley program out there that's growing. We have a partnership with Malt Europe, and that's been growing year on year and been quite successful for us. So it's a little bit about the Arthur Companies. And myself, I've been in the industry here, going on 22 years. Started out on a local grain elevator called Moreland Grain, which Arthur now runs. Ran that for 9 years, and then went to JD High School over in Twin Falls. And then when General Mills acquired, or when Thresher acquired the General Mills facilities, they asked me to come back. Did that for 6 years, and then worked for the AgriSource companies down in Burley. And then kind of similar thing when Thresher sold out to the Arthur Companies, they asked me to come back, and here I am. So running our merchandising and running our seed program as well.
Well, we're glad to have you there, Ken. Thank you for that background and information. I'm wondering, can you tell us what, if any, current trends you are seeing in the grain markets and how those are affecting Idaho wheat prices?
So, current trends in the wheat market as far as pricing, I mean, a big shift here we've seen, from when I've started my career to now is, less exports going out of the PNW, especially for soft white. One, some of that is, we're losing a little bit of market share, but also, the PNW is producing more wheat and have good crops. I mean, we get over there, maybe, send wheat over that direction probably once every 5 years when they have a crop issue. A lot of that, last time that did that, it was more about falling number and high proteins. on their soft white, and so we'll sell wheat over there, but it's tends to be less and less all the time. And so, here in Eastern Idaho, we really rely on the domestic milling market. And because of that, our customers are a little bit pickier about quality. And so we tend to need to have a higher quality milling wheat. And Idaho can supply that type of wheat. And a lot of that is because of our high desert climate, and we get to irrigate, control that weather. We have years every once in a while where we can't do that. Like last year was a struggle. And then back in 2014, we had a lot of rain during harvest, but for the majority of the time, we offer a superior wheat to other areas in the United States, more consistent quality that the mills like. So,
Sure.
and we are seeing, the milling industry increase here in Eastern Idaho, and down in Ogden, and we're seeing that demand grow, and it's been beneficial for all parties.
Where do your containers go from
So
your
our
facility?
containers, so we do a little bit of container business, and we ship that stuff out um, through the Pocatello container track there. And depending on, kind of flow, most of it hits the Asian markets right now.
Domestically, are they going to um, the
So,
West ports?
but yeah, they'll go to the West Coast ports to do that.
West Coast ports. Okay.
Yeah, if they're going out of Pocatello, they go up to SeaTac. So Seattle.
SeaTac. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Question from the chat is what is the split percentage domestic versus export?
For the Arthur companies,
Right.
for Eastern Idaho, it can vary. We are getting a little bit of business down to Mexico this year that we haven't seen in the past. But I would say probably 85 to 90% of our business is going to be domestic. So,
In your position as a grain merchandiser, Ken, do you have the ability to help farmers and buyers lock in at the best prices with such a fluctuating market?
yeah, we've got a lot of, strategies that we can use, either, like when futures are really high and guys, basis might be widened. We can use what we call HTAs, futures fixed, to lock in futures and see if the basis will get better. Or we can do basis contracts when basis is high to see if the futures can get better. And then various other types of contracts that we have, and we pride ourselves in being communicating to our farmers often about where the markets are at. Sometimes that can seem excessive, but at least that way they know, the trend of the markets, and try to keep in touch with our customers quite a bit so that they know why and how the markets are moving.
Ken, could you talk a little bit about the decision making this fall? What you're seeing in the markets, what you're seeing in plantings, how growers are responding to planting conditions, et cetera. What's it look like?
So I will tell you, that's kind of a fun thing to guess in the seed business. And, so we do a lot of projection that actually tends to be wrong more times than not, but it's the fun part of working in the seed business, where we've got to actually try to guess and project a year ahead, right? At the beginning of this seed season, we were kind of expecting, winter wheat acres to be down and soft white winter acres to be up. A lot of that was we did see a hard red winter coming in a harvest that had lower protein, and then also the price spreads between soft white and hard red winter weren't as wide as they had been in the past. But we just, we're pretty much done. Have a little bit still trickling out now, but we're pretty much done, and we are seeing hard red winter acres actually, or at least our seed sales, higher than last year, which was kind of a surprise to us, because last year was a record, and this is going to be a record for us this year for hard red winter. Soft white acres, did increase as well, but still probably not our highest on soft white winter acres, but still fairly significant. The warm weather, the open weather allowed guys to get their potatoes out fast, and they were able to get their sugar beets out fast. And And that allowed, especially behind the sugar beets, guys to be able to plant behind their sugar beets. A lot of guys like to get as much winter wheat in as they can in certain areas, just because that helps with their workflow in the spring, right? And then, if winter wheat makes it, it yields better than your spring wheats. But a lot of it is tied to their workload in the spring, because they want to spend that time getting their potatoes and sugar beets and other crops in the ground.
So it was more of an opportunity basis this fall necessarily than the longer term shift.
Yep. So, and that's yet to be seen. I mean, last year, we had good acres, winter wheat acres, both hard red winter, soft white winter, and we didn't have any winter kill, and so we thought our acres would be down, and we actually saw an increase. We thought, with the barley, initially last spring, barley acres were projected to be down. And so we thought we were going to see a surge in soft white spring, and that didn't happen. We saw, probably our average, maybe a little bit above average on soft white spring seed sales, but saw a huge increase in hard red spring. And so what we thought was going to go into soft white went into hard red spring. And we had a record spring seed sale last year. And so we had a record hard fall seed sales, and then again, another record spring seed sales as well.
Those crystal balls are a little hard to manage sometimes.
They're really foggy. Yep.
So and obviously any company's got a limited bin space. There's only so many varieties you can carry, and while you have your own breeding program coming on, how do you decide what varieties to offer, what market classes to offer? I mean, because you're making that commitment 1 and 2 years out essentially.
Yeah, and a lot of that, we go through our averages, right? We kind of go off a 3-5 year average of what we did, and kind of guess, okay, we're going to have X amount of seed for this. And we use a lot of like the demand, hey, this variety did really well, we'll probably increase acres of that. This variety didn't do as well, we'll decrease that. And then, we always take new varieties as they're coming out, and we do a little bit of testing on those and see how they're doing, put out limited acres, and see how those work. And if they don't work, we usually kill them within a year or two. You got to give a new variety a couple years, different environments, different weather. Guys, it takes a little bit of while to learn how those varieties will react. And we kind of, I guess I personally, and we as a company, we are the largest seed dealer in Eastern Idaho, and probably in all of Idaho. And so we take that responsibility a little bit to make sure that we've always got seed to sell. And so part of that is we make a commitment to have some carryover from year to year on at least certain classes, maybe not, the most popular varieties, because they may sell out, but we try to make sure that we've got some stuff we overproduce versus our sales, so that we can have something to sell, right? To make sure that our farm customers, depending on the market, have something to put in the ground. And that's kind of hard because, markets can dictate, changing classes, right, by a couple percentage. So if you don't have any of that inventory to buffer that sales change between classes, you're missing out, and you're putting your customers in a bind that way.
You guys have a unique conditioning plant that it's really a novel opportunity and marketing opportunity for you guys. Can you talk about a little bit about that and how you work that into your program?
So, yep. So we have a conditioning plant that sits here just across the tracks from our making facility here in Blackfoot. And what we run through there right now is predominantly soft white and a little bit of durum. That 100% goes to buck cereal companies. And basically what this conditioning plant, it is a super cleaner. A lot of the equipment is very similar to what you might find in a seed cleaning plant, but a little bit more high tech. It had a little extra added equipment. We have some color sorters in there, x-ray machines, destoners, and runs a little bit slower than our seed plant. But basically what happens is when that wheat comes out, it is considered a food grade. And I mean, we have to put it in when it gets shipped out, it's going into food approved, either trucks or rail car, all stainless steel. And that's going, down to Tremont and then to other plants across the United States to supply them with their box cereal. There's only one other plant in the United States like ours, and it's over in Michigan. And so it's pretty unique and fun business to be a part of. And yeah, it supplies, some extra marketing ability for our customers here, especially on the soft white, makes it into, instead of a commodity, a product. And, we're able to move some wheat out of this area that necessarily wouldn't otherwise because of that. Then, has a little extra program for like the durum, which is kind of unique to our area. It's very variety specific because it's got to work for our end use customers on size. It works into the puffed wheat cereal, so it's got to be very size specific and a correct variety for that. So
Corey, yeah, go ahead, Corey.
I maybe have a question, kind of a little bit different direction, but I'm about to hop out and dump the truck, so I'll get it in before I got to do something. I got a call from a Reuters reporter yesterday asking about a shortage of milling wheat across the world, and that kind of took me by surprise a little bit. I said I couldn't imagine a shortage of there being milling wheat anywhere in the world at this point. Maybe certain domestic markets, some lower farmers selling, but I sure don't see a shortage. Do you have any? Am I missing something? Where was that coming from?
So what you're seeing, where that's probably coming from, is on the global market. You are seeing slowly, the wheat supply slowly trend down, and and it kind of depends on what they call the milling wheat and by what specs they're looking for on that, but wheat in general in the world is trending, get a little bit tighter, but I wouldn't say there's a shortage of it quite yet. And then, United States, I mean, whether we like it or not, is generally the market of last resort for a lot of these customers out there who are a little bit less particular about quality, right? I mean, we have our consistent customers, Mexico, Japan, a lot of the higher end Asian countries who, have a little bit tighter specs for the types of breads and that they're using. But the variable ones like Egypt and others, I mean, they're not as demanding on their specs, and they tend to get a lot of that stuff from, Russia and the Black Seas. So I wouldn't say, so it's kind of a, the wheat supply in the world is slowly trending down, but unfortunately in the U.S. it's been trending up, and that's one of the reasons why, in relative terms, we're seeing cheaper wheat. We're still kind of priced out in the world marketplace. We're still too high in a lot of places for them to come to us unless they're looking for, higher quality, more consistent quality. So.
Thanks, Corey. We have a question in the chat, Ken. What is the primary class of wheat being exported via container?
By container, right now it's hard red spring. It tends to be protein wheats. If it goes out by container, it could be hard, and it's going to be like hard red spring or hard white that we do. If it goes to the port, like if it's going out of the PNW bulk, it'll probably be soft white. But that's not going out of containers. We're shipping rail cars over there, and they're putting it on the big boats, and it's going over bulk. And then, speaking of classes of wheat, I mean, we can export, out of Idaho, getting it out of Idaho. We can ship soft white out of Idaho. We can shift or hard white out of Idaho. It's more of a niche, so not as broad. Hard red spring, depending on freight spreads, we can get out of Idaho. Hard red winter is really hard to get out of Idaho. In fact, in this market, you see more hard red winter being shipped into like the Ogden and sometimes even into the Blackfoot markets. And so it's one of those, when we overproduce hard red winter, it's it's really hard to chew through that. So than the other, just because it's just hard to get it out of the area.
And your thoughts on Idaho? Do you see the Idaho export container market growing, increasing?
Increasing, it has the potential to increase. A lot of that is just our competitiveness on rail rates, right? And being able to do that, and it's variable all the time, and it's based really just on freight spreads. You know, when our cash price and rail freights make it competitive to other markets, that's, you know, they like our quality, but a lot of the times it just boils down to price. So.
Back to your comment about having a record year, did you say about 3 million bushels more?
3 million bushels more than our previous record. Yep.
And what's the quality like? Is it coming in good quality
So
product?
yeah, I mean, so the past couple marketing years, you know, we've had quality issues, you know, either through rain,
Yeah.
falling number,
Right.
some other reason, or just it was too hot and test weights were low. This year, we knock on wood, you know, we were, you know, first of harvest, we saw a lot of good quality coming in, and we didn't want to get too optimistic and jinx ourselves. But quality this year is, you know, back to what I would say normal Eastern Idaho wheat quality. Really good quality, good test weights, good proteins, good falling numbers, all around just a great crop this year.
That's great to hear.
So Ken, back to the development of the Arthur Company question for you. It seemed like from the outside, it seems like a bit of a stretch, the jump from North Dakota into Southern Idaho. So what does your management bring to Southern Idaho in terms of values and experience, and how does that impact how you guys are operating now that maybe was different than what you were 3 or 4 years ago?
So I would say, you know, like I mentioned before, probably the biggest change as far as the management is brought to Arthur versus Thresher is really the customer service focus. I mean, here locally, I mean, that's always been, you know, what, you know, as employees, we've wanted to focus on. And, you know, because of restraints that we had, you know, with the previous companies, we're probably able to do that as well as we would have liked. But the Arthur companies, their upper management is, I mean, that's top priority. I mean, we want to be able to build relationships with our customers and the community. Part of that, you know, I mean, they have been very supportive of us, supporting, you know, like FFA, 4-H auctions, you know, all that kind of stuff. Being involved in the community, especially the ag community, as much as we possibly can. You know, you know, the water situation that we had here in Eastern Idaho, they were very involved in keeping up on that. I believe even sent a letter of support for the negotiations and all, getting a resolution to that, to the interested parties, you know, on that. And so very much aware of what's going on and want us to be involved, and they want to be here long term, you know, and they have a very good reputation up in North Dakota, and they wanted to bring that here. Why they came out here to Eastern Idaho, a lot of it is because it was very domestic milling focused, and that, you know, rather than dealing, you know, with bulk commodities like corn and beans, you know, that's all export driven price. But having that diversity in the market is what they're wanting, right? And being able to work with the mills conditioning plant was part of that, the value add that does. So a little bit of diversity, and they understand that, you know, it's the wheat is going to be probably more domestic driven, and getting in on that is, you know, what they were looking for.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Ken, just kind of as we wrap up, a question for you with regard to Idaho farmers and how Arthur can support them. What advice would you give to farmers who are looking to get the most out of their crops?
So I would say be involved in your marketing, right? And I know it's kind of hard. I mean, we get this way. I mean, even personally, it's like, can be emotionally tied to our marketing or have target prices, understanding where the market is and working within that market. I mean, each year it's going to change, you know, how much we can get out of those, and then using some market strategies, you know, like to help increase the best. You know, and I tell a lot of guys, you know, base hits will win ball games, right? Um, you know, don't, you know, you tend to swing for the fences, you tend to strike out more times than not, but when you do get that home run, it feels good. But um, marketing, you know, on rallies, you know, not having necessarily do it all, but doing chunks and taking advantage of those. The guys who do that, I find, tend to be the ones who have the best average, right? Through like a 4 or 5 year, you know, you'll get that guy who, yeah, he'll sell at the top of the market maybe once every 5, 6 years, and he'll remember that. And, but he doesn't remember, you know, selling at the bottom of the market, you know, for the rest of the year. I would say, yeah, just be involved in your marketing and have targets out there with whoever you're merchandising with and talk over realistic targets, right? I mean, you know, there are guys like, I'd like $10 on my wheat this year. Well, maybe that's not necessarily in the cards this year, but let's look at some, you know, ranges where we think we can get and see if we can get top end of these ranges for, you know, the current market conditions.
Good advice. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ken. Before we wrap up, is there anybody else who's got a question or comment for Ken? Still want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Well, Ken, thank you very much. You've, you know, provided some great information, great insight, and some great suggestions for our wheat farmers going forward. We appreciate your time and what you do for the wheat industry and also for our wheat farmers. So we appreciate you joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity.
And just a reminder, we will have this recording up on our YouTube channel as well as our Spotify channel and up on our website. For anybody that missed it or wants to go back and rewatch, it will be available within the next day or two. We probably won't see anybody again until after Thanksgiving. So to all of you out there, have a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you next time for our next From the Field.